This will be a day long remembered. Now I am the master.
Welcome to another episode of Legends and Theories. And welcome to, honestly, it's just a video that I kind of thought of after the absolute insanity of the Ghorman Massacre just a few days ago in Andor. And for this, I'm going to take a look at 10 other genocides or massacres that have happened in Star Wars with two rules. One, if it's been depicted in a movie or a TV show, I'm not looking at it since those are well known. And two, I'm basically going to be looking at one from per faction. So there's some of these that will have sort of overlap, where there's people that go from one faction to another, but every faction here is completely unique, and it is it's just honestly just gonna be really crazy to go through this because there's a lot more than 10. There's like an entire Wikipedia page about these massacres and genocides. But these are 10 ones I thought would be honestly just really interesting to look at. And how I'm basically going to be defining this is really anything where it's an unprovoked attack on either a civilian population or on either military base or other place like that where it's in a time where they're either asleep or another otherwise not going to be able to defend themselves. And yeah, it's gonna be going to pretty crazy stuff. But let's go and start off with number 10, and these are really in no particular order. So these are all just kind of terrible. It's just I'm kind of looking at them because there's just so many other ones that these may not even be the 10 worst ones, but well, I mean, I think number one might be the worst one just in terms of lore, but uh, really besides that, really no order besides number one, which I think is probably the uh, most evil thing that's ever been done in Star Wars. So let's go and start off with number 10. And at number 10, we have Revan and Mitra Surik's activation of the Mass Shadow Generator. And this is done by the Republic during the Knights of the Republic series, which is a very important distinction because I do have one from Revan's Sith Empire that I will be talking about in just a little bit. And just to also be clear, this is Malachor 5 and not the Malachor that was shown in Star Wars Rebels. Completely different events took place in these two because this is part of the Mandalorian Wars, and that was part of one of the Jedi Sith Wars, although we don't know which one it is. And on the planet of Malachor 5, Revan and Misha Surik, alongside Malak, went and lured in the Mandalorians to a battle on the world of Malachor 5, and there they went and, under Misha Surik's order, fired the mass shadow generator, which went and killed all life within its range. Mitra Surik, being the one who ordered it, was closest to the blast radius, and just the death and agony that happened was so intense and bad that she went and cut herself off from the Force to be able to mentally survive what has happened. And it took her years and years to go and ultimately recover from that. And while this was a quote unquote traditional battle at the beginning, it was all a trap. It was a massacre of both Republic and Mandalorian troops. And this happens around the same time as Revan going and killing Mandalore and taking his mask to hide it to go and break his people. But this is really the battle that ended the uh, Mandalorian Wars, and it was just a really, really devastating battle. And yeah, honestly, it is. It's just really crazy that well, Revan did this, and it was done by Mitra Surik. You go in, return to Malachor 5, and the end of Knights of the Republic 2, and depending on the ending you pick, you either keep the planet there with the Trace Academy remaining there, or you destroy the planet. by using the shadow generator one last time, and yeah, this is just a really, really bad one, but I mean, it still was technically started as a battle. You could say it doesn't count, but I'd say the fact that it was just a battle where they wanted to go sacrifice their troops to go and take out most of the Mandalorian forces just shows how ruthless this war was becoming, and very easily telegraphs the fall of both Revan and Malak to the dark side. And then there's also Mitra, who is able to cut herself off from the Force, which prevents her from following down that dark path that Revan and Malak did continue down. And yes, I do know that there is the fact that they continue on to go after and get captured by Vitiate, and they get brainwashed by him. But this is definitely something that pushed them towards the dark side because it was a completely horrific act that really had no justification at all. And this is also such a devastating attack that actually goes and causes a wound in the Force. And, well, to wound the Force, it is a pretty insane thing to do. And this is really ultimately healed when the planet is ultimately destroyed at the end. But, and listen, I believe the correct canon ending of the game. I don't remember exactly which one is the canon ending of the game. If they destroy or keep Malachor there, but I'm pretty sure it is that they destroy the planet and manage to close that wound in the Force. But yeah, honestly, as I said, just absolutely crazy that this happened, and this is only the first one we're talking about. Up next at number 9 is, I don't really know the name of this, but it's called the Kamos Firestorm, and this is an atrocity committed by the Galactic Empire, which, if you don't know, that's someone from the original trilogy. I need to be clear about empires here because I'm going to talk about like at least 5 or 6 different Sith empires, so I do need to be clear, and this is one that is talked about in the Hand of Thrawn duology. It is it's another devastating attack, and this one is far, far worse than the Ghorman Massacre because this is a complete peace-loving species, a species that even after they are nearly wiped out, they go on, well, they suffer even worse fate where Alderaan is the one who takes them in after that, and well, as I said, I'm not talking about stuff in the movies, but we all know what happens to Alderaan in Episode 4. So things are just pretty bad for them, and just going through this, it was completely insane that this is something the Empire did, and I think I have to check specifically, but I think this was earlier on into the Empire. I believe it was about 19 BBY. I would have to double check those numbers, but it is a it was 19 BBY, so this is really early into the Empire's reign, and they go and they try to just wipe out this peace-loving civilization, and it's completely unprovoked. It is done by some Bothan spies, which goes and causes some major problems in that Hand of Thrawn duology, since the people are never really identified up to that point, and people want to go and punish the Bothans for going and committing this atrocity as a species, since they think that they're just trying to hide and protect those people. But that's a completely different story. That's the Hand of Thrawn duology, and this is just this massacre, and it just helps show that the Empire is just completely ruthless and evil, and it's just a really, really terrible thing that they've done. Going up now to our next one, we have the stacking of Coruscant done by the Sith Empire, and this is the one that was controlled by Vitiate. I'll be talking about something that Vitiate himself did later on, which is under a different Sith Empire, since he hasn't formed his empire yet at that point, which is I mean, I think you may know which one that one is. I referred to it earlier on, but this one specifically, it is an attack led by Darth Malgus, and Of all of these, it is almost certainly the most well-known one since is depicted in what is probably the most famous of the Old Republic cinematics, where Malgus goes and leads an attack on the Jedi Temple. But throughout it, they go and absolutely massacre people in the temple. They are killing every Jedi possible. They are beginning to attack Coruscant, although they are pulled back because Vitiate wants to go and make peace with the Republic for now, and that puts them into a state of Cold War. But this is just used to go and give the Sith Empire leverage in their negotiations, and it is something that really angers Malgus in this. I need to keep stopping myself from saying Malik because I really want to say Malik, but I know it's Malgus. I already had to cut one time because I accidentally said Malik, so I'm getting to Malik's thing later, but it is just honestly just absolutely insane just how devastating this attack is. It leads to the destruction of the Jedi Temple, the death of the Supreme Chancellor, and just so much more death and chaos. But it ultimately is ended relatively quickly since the Sith only did it to go and strike a major blow against the Republic and use that to be able to get them favorable terms in their negotiations. Because if they didn't, then they would go and continue their atrocities on Coruscant. But yeah, still a really devastating attack and really interesting to go and talk about. Going into number seven, there's events that I just recently read in the Legacy of the Force novels, which is Darth Caedus ordering his ships to fire upon Kashyyyk. And this one's just terrible because everybody loves Wookiees, and Caedus, because the Wookiees decided to not side with him after his atrocities were revealed by both his parents and Luke Skywalker, was just absolutely furious with them and wanted to punish them. And he even justifies this later on, saying that this is going to go and make Kashyyyk stronger in the end. It's going to clear out all the dead trees and everything and cause even more growth to happen. And that's just to show how far uh, Jason has fallen and how much of a monster Caedus is now. But he went and he attacked the world of the one of the creatures that was, well, not only like a uncle to him, but also was a guardian who put his life on the line at all times and even sacrificed his life to save Caedus's brother. And of course, I'm talking about Chewbacca, and it is just, it's just absolutely tragic that he does this. So much death and destruction is caused on it, and this isn't even fully to punish the Wookiees. This is so we could go and be able to secure a victory in another part of the galaxy to force his enemies to go and help the Wookiees, or to like look like hypocrites, which will cause their cause to fall apart. And Jason, or really Caedus at this point, he's just an absolute monster there, and it is genuinely, genuinely terrible. Also, the faction that's doing this is the Galactic Alliance under the command of Caedus, so there's just a lot of things to mention because I've been mentioning the faction for each of these, and I realized I never mentioned the faction for this. But yeah, it is a very, very screwed up thing, and it is just really, really terrible thing that happens. Now moving on to number six, we have Kip Durn destroys Kurita, and I'll be plain honest, I haven't read the Jedi Academy trilogy yet. I have read I Jedi, which goes and covers these events pretty well, but it doesn't look at what happens with Kip specifically, since it's a first-person novel set from Corin Horn's perspective. He also gets mentioned a good amount of times when Kip Durn appears in later novels, but under the influence of the ghost of Exar Kun, Kip Duran is manipulated to do dark side acts, and in revenge against the Empire for taking his brother, he goes and destroys the world of Krita, not knowing his brother is on it, and he just takes out this entire system, causing so much death and destruction, and killing just so many Imperials. And this one technically doesn't really have a faction. This is sort of Kip acting on his own because he really isn't connected to a faction. You could say it's technically the Jedi Order since Kip is a part of that, or you could say it's part of Exar Kun's Sith Empire, although that empire has been collapsed for thousands of years at this point. So really, this is sort of an independent faction and still an event I think was really worth talking about, even though I said, as I personally don't know as much about it, I still think it is a very interesting point to talk about, and it is a very devastating attack still. And now moving on to number 5, we have the Yuzan Vong destroy Ithor. And, well, I mean, I literally could have just grabbed a random New Jedi Order book and just opened to a random page with the Vong and probably would have found a massacre or genocide that they committed. Well, again, I was also considering their just devastation of Coruscant when it fell, but that at least started as a conventional battle, and they were just sort of firing on really anyone that was trying to escape. And I think this one is just so much sadder because this is just shows just how truly the Vong didn't care about honor or anything. Because in this, Horn goes and he challenges the leader of the Vong at the time to a single combat, and whoever wins would get the world of Ithor. And in this battle, while it's hard fought, Corrin eventually does manage to win and kills the Vong's commander, and through that, the planet should have been saved. But the Vong's new commander was just like, yeah, we're not going to do that. He fires a weapon into the planet, and it goes and just devastates the world, killing all the vegetation and leaving it completely barren and lifeless. This causes just so much grief for the Ithorians, who, like the Kamasi earlier, are a very peaceful species and really didn't want to go and cause all this pain and suffering. In fact, it takes them years and years to be able to even get their own home, own new world because their world is completely uninhabitable at this point. The Vong didn't even take it to terraform or anything. They just attacked it to go and destroy it. And it's just absolutely devastating. It just shows how truly evil the Yuzhan Vong are, and there's just so much chaos that goes on with it. And another thing I could have considered with them is them going and genociding everything in their own galaxy, but because we don't know really any specifics about that, I'm not gonna be really looking at it. Besides, it's just quick honorable mention for it. But yeah, honestly, it's just devastating what happened here, and I am just really kind of didn't fully believe it when I was reading this for the first time because this is one of the parts I didn't know about in the series, and it's just one of those things where it seems like it's a good ending, and then it just goes and it's absolutely devastating. But yeah, I don't know what you think about this one specifically when you've read it for the first time, if you have read the New Jedi Order, because this is just an absolutely just insane moment in it. Now going to number 4, this is honestly one of my favorite moments in Star Wars novels because of how it's just a perfect piece of master manipulation. And this is the detonation of the thought bomb in the final battle of Rusan. And this is how the Sith were taken out, how Darth Bane managed to become the final Sith Lord, and this is just an absolutely devastating weapon that causes just an insane amount of death. And just looking at it, I really couldn't believe just how terrifying this weapon is as you see Githany going and trying to escape from it, and you see her body just being absolutely destroyed and going and learning that their spirits go and get trapped into uh this giant orb and they're gonna be stuck there presumably for all eternity until well they eventually are freed by Kyle Katarn, but that's over 1,000 years later. Their spirits had to suffer for over 1,000 years before they were finally released to be able to be in peace and death. It is just truly, truly terrible, and what makes it so much more tragic is the Jedi knew what they were getting into. Lord Hoth went and asked for 100 volunteers to come with him because they had to go and stop the Brotherhood of Darkness. They either had to kill them all in there or let them detonate the thought bomb there so they could take them out and make sure that this isn't used in a more populous world like Coruscant. And this is not only the ultimate act of redemption for Hoth, who was dangerously close to falling to the dark side in this war, but it also is just a great and noble sacrifice by these Jedi to all go and give up their lives just to make sure that the Sith have been destroyed forever. Although ultimately it does not turn out to be that because this was Bane's plan to go and eliminate the Sith and well the Sith that didn't follow his rule of two philosophy, so there could only be two Sith, and for him to be able to go and seek his own apprentice and make it look like he is also dead. But yeah, honestly, such a devastating moment, and this also goes and absolutely destroys the planet of Rusan, where so much chaos already happened to it, but this just changes the climate of the world, where the world is just forever changed from that point, and it is just absolutely devastating what happens. And this is caused by the Brotherhood of Darkness as the faction for it, which is the second to last Sith group in this original line of Sith. Although there are, and then that's followed by Bane's Rule 2. Then there's like two other groups, like Lost Tribe of the Sith and the One Sith, but those don't have any direct connections to this lineage of Sith. Besides, like, never really even add any besides because Crate is very different and he felt a dark side, but really didn't work under the Rule 2 Sith. That's a completely different topic, though, so let's move on to number three. And at number three, we have the one I was referencing earlier, Malik going and destroying the world of terrorists. And, well, of all of these, this is the greatest overreaction of them. Darth Malik wanting to kill Bastila Shan and take her out of the picture since she's a very valuable asset to the Republic. Goes and orders for his fleet to just destroy the city world of terrorists because it's taking too long to find her. That's literally the entire justification he has for destroying this entire planet. He wants to kill a single person, and to be clear, he doesn't even know that Revan is on this planet. He doesn't even know that Revan is alive at this point. He thinks that Revan's dead, so he's doing this specifically to kill Bastila, and to kill one person, he condemns an entire world to death. He has his forces open fire upon the planet, and he kills untold millions and millions of people. The population of terrorists ultimately does survive partially and are slowly able to rebuild, but really are never able to get back to the glory they had before this attack because of just how devastating this was on this planet. It is just an absolutely savage and evil act committed by, well, what was once Revan's Sith Empire, but is now Malik's Sith Empire, and it is just a truly, truly evil act. And again, to be clear, I'm considering this as the Sith Empire and not the Republic, since that's a faction that they were fighting for with the mass shadow generator, and This one is the Sith Empire of Darth Revan and slash Darth Malak, so it is definitely considered a different faction. So maybe just in case you're saying, well, this is the same group, but it technically is, but it is a different faction since this is the Sith Empire fighting against the Republic, who were the ones who committed the last atrocity, although under the same leadership. So you can say I'm kind of going against with the rules, but I made the rules, so I'm not messing with them. And going to number two, we have just the absolute devastation Abeloth goes and causes on Coruscant. And this is one where you could say, wait, is this an independent faction? Although Abeloth is sort of just, she's just chaos incarnate, and just what she does here is just so terrible. It's just kind of insane what she's done. And no, this is not considered a natural disaster because Abeloth, through her abilities and her unique connection to the forest, manages to have volcanoes erupt on Coruscant that goes and just causes billions of deaths. She does this really just to go and feed her own power and feed off the misery and suffering of everyone that is surviving this or the brief moments of between their deaths and them going back into the forest. It is just an absolutely evil act and is done by just a truly, just a genuinely evil creature that has absolutely no remorse. This was another really just surprising moment when I read this in for the first time during Fate of the Jedi, and it just shows just truly how evil Abeloth is. But just honestly, this is just not as bad as the first one. As I said, there's no real order besides this one. This is easily the worst thing that a being has ever done in Star Wars because of just how much of a perversion of life it is, and that is Vitiate's ritual anathema. And since his empire has been formed yet, which I did talk about earlier with Malchus's attack on Coruscant, this still happens under the Sith Empire of Nagasadao, and just with this, it is just a truly just a genuinely evil and despicable act that really has no equal at all because of just how atrocious it is. If you don't know what happens here, Vitiate goes and he uses his dark power to go and force all these Dark Lords of Sith together to go and enact in a ritual to try and well, he just uses his own excuse, but it's really just to make him all powerful. He goes and when he commences his ritual, he not only kills all life on the planet, he literally kills the Force on the planet, making it a space that is dead of the Force because he sucked all life there and all connection to the Force into his body, making him virtually immortal, although he eventually is killed. This is over 1,000 years later, and Vitiate is just truly, truly evil in this act. I know I've talked about this before. I don't remember exactly which video it was in, but this is just such a terrible thing that he has done because just how much death and destruction is caused by it. I mean, it's genuinely impossible to tell how bad this is. He literally managed to kill all life of all types in on a planet. Yes, we've seen something like the world of Alderaan being destroyed and other planets being destroyed, but with this, he literally made this place a perversion of the Force, and it is just honestly just insane of how bad it is. It is so much worse than the wound to the Force that is caused by the mass shadow generator, and it is just a genuinely evil act, and it just has so many people dead, and it even destroyed every droid on the planet by overriding their systems, and it was just is genuinely evil. It is so destructive, and just going around the planet after it is, it's just almost impossible to be there because it just destroys someone's mind. And then there's also the fact that if you look around everywhere, you just see clothes that are just laying there because just like literally nothing to go and cause them to decay or anything. There's no bacteria to eat it up, and it is just absolutely evil and devastating, and it's just the worst thing that someone has really ever done in Star Wars because there really is no other way to be worse than that. But yeah, honestly, that's a 10 massacres I recommended in Star Wars. Yeah, I want to know what you think. Are there any other massacres that I didn't talk about that you really enjoyed in terms of storytelling? Because you can't really say that massacres are great things because, well, they're not, but they still are so interesting to go and look at these. So yeah, honestly, let me know what you think in the comments, and until the next episode of Legends and Theories. Thank you for watching this episode of Legends and Theories. Please subscribe, like the video, share the video, leave a comment, check out the video on screen, and may the Force be with you.